best jewelry options for torso piercings. We're going to talk about nipples and navels mainly today. Coming up next on Body Piercing Basics, episode number 86. So stick around. For those that are new to the channel, my name is DaVo. I'm a professional body piercer and have been since 1994. I own and I operate the Axiom Body Piercing Studio located here in Des Moines, Iowa, inside Skin Kitchen Tattoo. So when I talk to you about these things, I'm talking to a level of expertise that comes with being in the body piercing industry for well over 26 years. What are we going to talk about today? Well, we're kind of continuing the series I've been doing on what are the best jewelry options initially when you get a piercing and even afterwards. A lot of people don't consider how much the shape of the piercing is affected or how much we change the shape of that piercing when we go from one style to another style. Probably the most primary one that I get asked about in this area would be nipple piercings. People like to wear rings in it. Personally, I like that classic look of that hanging ring. However, that ring needs to be wide enough to make it as flat as possible. Otherwise, you could cause issues in a piercing that has been healed even for a couple years. I did a short video here, and hopefully this works out because I haven't even watched it yet. Basically, what I'm doing here is I'm representing the piercing by the white strip of paper. Now, if you consider that's roughly maybe about 3/8 of an inch wide, most people's nipples, or female nipples especially, are going to be about that size. So first off, I take a 1/2 inch ring and put it over it. You'll notice how much of that is in that white section, how much of that ring is taken up by that piercing area. Then I did a much larger ring, 5/8, which would be like the next size up. Notice how that area that's inside the piercing has gone from kind of almost a complete half circle up to a little less, more of a quarter turn. Next, I put on a curved barbell. This, even though it's not quite as curved or drastic of a curve, it does seem to be more rounded than even the ring would be. Lastly, I put in what I generally suggest with most piercings, which is a standard straight barbell when it comes to nipple piercings. Notice how it's flat. Notice how there's no curvature to it. People don't really quite understand this, so I hope this video helped to explain that a little bit better. Now, what are we going to talk about specifically today is torso piercings. And those are piercings that are located between your neck and your waistline. And it's two primary ones. It's nipples and navels. There are variations of both of those, and we're going to go through that. The types of jewelry I'm going to talk about today, style-wise, is we're going to talk about initially rings, then we'll talk a little bit about curved barbells, and then we'll talk about standard barbells. So let's start with rings. Now, rings are a traditional way of piercing both of these. They have been used since the beginning of professional piercing. If you want to have that classic piercing, nothing says that like a ring. However, as I already went over, the diameter of the ring is extremely important, and having a well-skilled piercer that can dictate which is going to work best is your best option, especially when it comes to sizing the jewelry. So rings, we can do both nipples, horizontal nipples, in navel piercings. In fact, for years, I did navel piercings with a ring. However, the placement was greatly different on most people. We would take that flap of tissue, like if you take your index finger and stick it inside your navel and pinch down, you'll notice there's kind of when it goes together, there's a kind of lobe there, just like there would be with your ear. We would do that just straight through that lobe. Now, when we went to start doing curved barbells, which is more popular and seems to have slightly better success, it's done more at an angle to that lobe. Now let's talk about curved barbells. With curved barbells, navel piercings and floating navels. Yes, that's the new trend of turning the jewelry upside down and doing it deeper into the navel. With floating with floating navel piercings, basically what you're doing is a more traditional placement of the jewelry. You're doing a more traditional angle that we would have done with a ring. It's more inside the navel. It's not as far on the edge. With curved barbells, especially the ones that have that large ball at the bottom and the smaller one at the top, usually they're done more outward so that you can see both of those gem settings. Now let's move on to finally standard barbells. Standard barbells, nipple piercings, female nipple piercings, and male nipple piercings should both be done with standard barbells. It is my advice that you're going to have less problems, less issues, less movement, less hassle, less catching on things, etc., than you're going to have with rings. One of the issues with rings not only is getting that area as flat as possible, but it's also the profile and the amount of space they take up. With rings, you're going to have a lot of profile. You're going to have a lot of things hanging on there that can catch. With barbells, you just have those two balls on both sides, and it's usually a little easier to deal with. With vertical or cross or angled nipple piercings, it needs to be done with a standard barbell, not with a curved barbell, and definitely not with a ring. The weight and the way that it would sit and the jewelry would sit would be extremely uncomfortable and would probably cause issues. So that's all I have to say on this subject today as far as torso piercings and what's the best option for those. If you found this interesting or useful, please give me a thumbs up. If you would like to see more of these, please hit the subscription and click on that notification bell so that you're notified every single time we post something. If you like merch, you like swag, you like t-shirts, you like all kinds of stuff that has logos on it, bright colors, etc., check out our merch store. A link is in the description. Also, there's a nice merch bar below that highlights some of our merch, roughly about 12 different designs and various different styles, colors, etc. Till next time, here's hoping all your piercings heal with ease and without a single issue. And if you are in the Des Moines, Iowa area, I hope to see you for your body piercing needs in the future. Thank you for watching, everybody. Have a good day. If you hadn't noticed, Pros and Cons has now moved to Mondays. I'll start doing that on Mondays. Sorry about the lateness of this getting posted today, but it was just kind of a busy morning. Till next time, take care of one another. Stay safe, stay clean, stay healthy, and, of course, pick up after yourself. Have fun, everybody.